Grant. Okay. You got that right?
Good morning and welcome back.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor, for this invitation to speak with Council. I'd like to begin, first of all, by expressing my regret at the somewhat premature way in which the issues we're here to talk to you about today came before Council some weeks ago. It's our hope that today's presentation will allay some of your concerns and at least answer the questions that may have been provoked by that earlier discussion. I want to begin by saying what I've said before Council on a number of occasions, that the University is immensely proud to be part of the Hamilton community. This is a point I have been making repeatedly this week in addresses to our incoming group of students, stressing to them that they're not just members of the university community, they are members of the Hamilton community, and that is part of a long and very proud history. It'll be no secret to members of Council that one of our long-standing goals, and particularly over the last 4 years, has been to grow and to strengthen our role in the city's prosperity, particularly as a strong partner in the revitalization of downtown. And the Downtown Health Campus across the road is, I think, a stellar example of what can happen when the city and the university come together in an initiative that has great consequences for the citizens of Hamilton. And I think we can see, as the opening of that building across the road gets closer, a mounting anticipation of the vitality that will come to the downtown as students, patients, professors, public health employees and visitors begin to make use of that building. I've said before how grateful the university is for the city's support in that project, because without such a tangible demonstration of confidence in that proposal, the health campus would not have been possible. I just note that construction has also begun on the new site for our downtown centre at Jackson Square. And this is another McMaster investment in the downtown, which will create another hub of university and related activities. My point about these projects is that they do not happen accidentally. They are all the result, in the first place, of our commitment to the downtown, which we want to continue to develop and expand. I personally would like to see the university and the city develop a long-term plan for cooperation, which would enable each of these kinds of initiatives to find a natural place in our developing relationship. Now, it can certainly be said that the timing of this latest opportunity to accomplish that goal isn't ideal. But it is a fact that when we see an opportunity to connect the city's economic development goals and the university's aspirations in a proposal that could leverage significant provincial money into downtown Hamilton, we will always want to bring that opportunity forward, and that is exactly what we're doing today. The Province of Ontario's capital expansion program is just such an opportunity, and it may be the last we will see for some time. When this process is concluded, only a few cities in Ontario will have a chance to be part of the expansion investment, and we would very much like to, with Hamilton, be one of those communities. We think it is important for this city to benefit under this new project. So while the timing is certainly not ideal and the details may not all be crystal clear, we believed it was important to present this opportunity to you, and we hope to find out today if you see the opportunity fitting with the city's economic development plans and aspirations. We certainly hope that you will support a new partnership with a contribution of land, but we also recognize that you have many priorities and demands before you. So I'd now like to hand over to Roger Calder, who's going to take you through some of the details on what we're thinking about for the downtown, and then we'll both be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Patrick. Good morning, councillors. Delighted to be here this morning, giving you a little detail, a little insight into what the provincial competition is that we're asking you to participate with us in. There is a very significant opportunity available to us. amounts have not been fully discussed and disclosed, but we understand it is a very substantial opportunity that has as conditions expansion of undergraduate education. I've listed there what the proposal criteria are, and the most prevalent of those is 1,000 students in the short term. We believe that we can accomplish that in collaboration with the city, and we are very hopeful that you will support us, because we think that your participation in this project is critical for our success. We're in a tough competition here. Some of the details I know have been made available to you. We are in a very tough competition, and we will only succeed in this competition in collaboration with you in the same sort of way as we've collaborated with you on the medical health campus and other initiatives. We've got 2 locations downtown, as you know. We are thankfully for your support, we managed to leverage your $20 million investment in the medical health campus into an $85 million building that you see going up opposite you here. We're in the process of investing $7 million in a renovation of the property on the corner of King and James for our continuing education and administrative staff. And we firmly believe that we could build a significant hub of McMaster presence in downtown Hamilton with a 3rd building that would be in close proximity to those other 2 buildings. So we're looking to build on the presence that we already have, build on the relationship and partnerships that we've already established with the city, and build another significant building downtown that would house for us senior level undergraduate students in specialized professional programs. In order for us to meet the provincial hurdles of 1,000 undergraduate students, we also need to do a companion project on campus. That companion project will allow us to build a new residence and create some new teaching and learning space on campus. So this proposal to the province is in fact a 2-phase proposal with those 2 particular sites in mind. We would like to think that the downtown investments that we're making are contributing materially to city building, a process that I think all of us in the room understand is well underway in Hamilton. It will also give us an opportunity, I think, to increase our community engagement, to increase the support that our students and faculty can provide to downtown Hamilton, and I firmly believe will increase accessibility to academic programs. For our main campus in Westdale, the residents will relieve some pressure on the neighbouring community and allow us to be even more attractive to the high calibre of students we already attract. What programs are we considering? We're looking at programs that are among our highest demand programs. They're the ones that we are currently turning aside significant numbers of students for. They're ones that have a strong correlation to market demand and job prospects, and they're ones that we believe best fit with our understanding of the city's objectives. So they will feature health, engineering and technology. We're looking at teaching downtown, but also putting research facilities downtown, particularly in areas such as rehabilitation, wellness, aging and mobility. And there is significant work underway with the city in the form of the use of data to better target improvements in the community. In terms of the anticipated impact, the economic development benefits of this are, I think, reasonably well established. Large numbers of municipalities have benefited over the years from downtown post-secondary education partnerships. A recent Brantford study showed that the forecast economic benefits were exceeded in the 5-year time frame that they had used as a scenario. And we think we will contribute materially to downtown Hamilton in terms of economic development, but probably equally importantly, contributing to the vibrancy, the cultural impact, the demand, as well as the housing that will be required in downtown Hamilton. So I think that by locating these programs downtown, we could reasonably expect there to be an increase in the number of students that would find Hamilton their home post-graduation. Key facts for you. I'm not going to read each of these out. Clearly, the downtown project will create incremental students downtown. They will not be first-year students. These are senior undergraduate students we're talking about here. Obviously, faculty and staff increases downtown. The on-campus project will increase capacity on campus, although I should be clear with Council that there is those numbers are not additive. There is a relocation of students from campus to downtown, so we've given you the gross number here rather than the net. Total project cost is in that sort of range, which we believe is within the types of project costs that the province is expecting under the competition. We're asking the city to contribute the land that would allow us to build that building, the first building that we spoke about downtown. We think that's 2 to 4 acres of land. We will be contributing significantly to this project, this overall project, and we firmly believe that we have developed an excellent track record with the city, with council and with the staff. We've managed to leverage the seed money that has been made available by council over the years. I think about MIP, I think about the medical health campus, I think about Fraunhofer most recently, and working together with city staff and with the council, we've managed to overcome some fairly significant hurdles as we've worked through the details of each of these projects. Fairly confident from the discussions that I've had with city staff that we can do that again. I do want at this time to thank you very much for your time in listening to this opportunity. We do think we've got an outstanding prospect ahead of us here to leverage our commitment and what we're asking you to commit into some very significant provincial dollars, which we think will have a meaningful impact on downtown. We know that you will consider this seriously. Patrick and I are here to answer any questions that you may have. Before I conclude, I would like to acknowledge that staff at the city have helped us materially over the last few weeks as we've worked our way through this particular topic and in this presentation. So thank you once again. I look forward to any questions.
Thank you, gentlemen. And I do have a long list of speakers. I'm going to ask members of the committee, I know this issue will go on for some time, but I'm going to ask that we separate first our questions for the presenters, and then I'll come back to committee members for your comments, and we can debate, understanding that Councillor Farr is presenting a revised motion. I'll ask him to present that, and then we'll speak on that issue at that time. So questions of Mr. Dean and Mr. Coldry. I have a speakers list of Councillors Farr, Partridge, Ferguson, Powers, myself, Clark, and Whitehead. I'll ask you first when I call upon you to first, if you're going to ask questions, let me know. If you want to be put on the speakers list, I'll create a separate speakers list for later. Councillor Farr, questions of the presenters? Okay. Briefly,
and thank you. I'm obviously involved and have been for some time now, and I'm appreciative that we had the opportunity to have this delegation and have the opportunity to have the delegation in time for the deadline of this very important application to both McMaster University and obviously the City of Hamilton, particularly the downtown. You're aware, as noted, you have your mandates, Patrick, and when you came into your position, you made them very clear to us in a previous delegation 3 years ago to integrate with our city and work through the university on helping us achieve our revitalization goals. And of course, we have a strategic plan through till 2015, Mr. Deputy Mayor, where we have unanimously approved identifying and implementing high priority actions to support accelerated revitalization of Hamilton's downtown core. And I mean, this really fits the bill. There was reference made Roger, to how there have been economic spin-off and benefits in other communities. And certainly we've chatted and I've done some research, and we just do not need to go far down the road and see places like Brantford, where in the last 10 years private development is upwards $35 million. And a lot of it is associated to the growing campus scene in their downtown that's revitalized their core. While we have no direct figures on the impact at the modest 1,000 students, knowing that over time this campus could see upwards 10,000 students, you probably, through the chair, are unable to provide any scenario where this kind of investment in post-secondary in a downtown core anywhere hasn't seen that kind of private spin-off. Can you speak to that element, while you're not directly linked to it, but the importance of where we see private development around downtown campuses?
Roger may be able to provide some more concrete examples of this, but I mean, it is a widely acknowledged phenomenon in the late 20th century, in the early 21st century, across North America, that where cities have partnered with institutions of higher learning in the way we're talking about here, bringing the university into the city itself. In each case, these have been initiatives which have been transformative for the city. I'm thinking of numerous centers in the U.S. where the collapse of industry and steel put these communities in very difficult situations, which were then transformed by the partnership with universities. So I think, there are many examples of this. I don't know of any case in which this kind of an initiative did not have very substantial benefits for the city, and it just begins with the increased vitality in the downtown, but then obviously there are all kinds of knock-on economic effects through the attraction of business and so on that will follow inevitably if you imagine the number of students that could conceivably end up on this campus in 5 to 10 years. Roger, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think you've
Through the chair, thank you. One of our bullets in this amended motion that I'll be bringing forward at the appropriate time, the new facilities, you're looking for larger than 70,000 square feet, primarily for academic purposes. There is no element of residential in this particular project for this downtown campus.
No, not for downtown, no.
Okay. I've had a few, first of all, the feedback has been tremendously positive from the residents and business people that I've spoken to in the last few weeks, and it's been very, very encouraging. And I think folks are paying close attention, and they have for decades, frankly, on doing what we can to inspire these kinds of opportunities. And certainly we're in a great place here today. And I mean everyone in the core that I've spoken to have agreed to that. Through you, Chair, you get different questions, though, and one good one I thought was, I know we don't want to debate or contemplate specific locations today, but there are 2 phases to the health campus, and there's a second parcel. My understanding was we held back $1 million on our $20 million commitment for future private development. Where are we with that? As some have suggested, maybe that's a great location, and why isn't it? And where are we with that? Through you,
Yes.
to Roger.
It's a good question. Currently, that particular site is still being used for the construction of the main campus, and until recently was still being used as a parking site for the school board. It is a site that features in our longer term planning. It is a smaller site than is necessary for the project, but I suspect will feature moving forward in the larger plan for what we're calling an urban university. The challenge with that particular site, as far as the proposal is concerned, is that the province is very clear in its expectations that there will be, and I'm not going to quote this correctly, but there will be a municipal contribution. And so, utilizing that particular site doesn't actually allow us to satisfy the requirements. But it is actually probably too small for what it is that we're trying to achieve anyway.
Thank you. I have an amendment which speaks to, if we narrow this down for future, get through today's motion, partner, give you a much more solid opportunity as we are competing at a provincial level for capital dollars to make this happen. Roger, you and I have talked about it, and now I've amended this motion to include some wording on parking. that if we were to narrow it down to a surface parking lot within the city, a city asset, and let's say there's 100 spots, we were going to work together to ensure that that final product brings that element of parking back to the public. Can you speak to that through you, Chair? That amendment that we're working on for today, that should be in the E, that McMaster work with the City of Hamilton on meeting parking requirements, and in the event a surface lot becomes the optimum candidate, the replacement of the lost parking spots and revenue. Through you, Chair.
I worked through this with city staff when we worked on the medical health campus, and some members of council may remember that we made some specific provisions for parking in relation to that particular development. So I'm very conscious of the fact that in downtown Hamilton, one has to deal with parking at an early stage of a development proposition. Speaking for the university on this, we're very open to a discussion with the city as to what the parking requirements would be for any given site, including the replacement of the lots. The extent to which parking is required will vary according to the building and the site. So it's a very difficult item to deal with in advance of knowing exactly which site one's working with and exactly what one's building and what the capacity and the transportation requirements are of that particular location. But I think council, based on the discussions that I had prior to today, would expect that the university will agree that we will work closely, and I underline the word closely, with city staff to ensure that the parking lots are replaced in the way that's appropriate and that the parking requirements of the incremental building will in fact be addressed. So we're expecting that. Is that what you need?
Absolutely, I appreciate it. I wanted to get you on the record there because, you know, this is an amendment
sure.
Prior to what has been seen. And to that end, and finally, I'll editorialize just a little. I'll try to make it a question, but Patrick opened up with the almost an apology of the way this was presented. I tried to lift unsuccessfully at council a few weeks ago the motion from the last GIC and not follow the particular order that we're used to. And I appreciate you acknowledging that, but I probably would want to take more of the responsibility as it was in this forum that I maneuvered or tried to make such a maneuver. And so to that end, I'm just still glad, and I did so obviously under the guise that we want to meet this timeline. We want you to have a nice, full and proper bid and in a timely fashion. I wanted to see if we could make sure we don't miss the September 26th deadline. So while I appreciate you opening with that, and as appropriate as it was, I certainly would have to take some share of that responsibility. Thank you. I look forward to the questions, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Partridge, questions of the presenters.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and I will have questions just for the presenters. Welcome, gentlemen. I want to say that we certainly appreciate having a world-class international university, research and medical center located right in our Hamilton community, and have also appreciated the partnership and the discussions that we've been able to have. Outside of this particular one, which, as you recognized up front, has had some challenges. But Dr. Dean, I would like to direct my questions to you, if I may, simply because we had the benefit of a conversation the other day, which I appreciated you contacting me, and we did have a fulsome discussion. So I am going to ask some of those questions just for the general public, the taxpayers, to be able to hear your answers to those questions. I'm a little bit confused about how many buildings we're talking about, because I've heard a campus, I've heard a residence, I've heard only a campus downtown, but in the presentation it's the word buildings with an S in brackets. Yep. So can you please clarify for everybody just how many buildings are we talking about and where are they going to be located?
Well, I'll begin with the number. So it's better to talk about two components to the proposal. One is a development on campus, so there will be a building there. That is the building to be partly residential. Then there is whatever we build downtown. Now, that could be a single building on an appropriate piece of land, or if the arrangement was, for example, that there were two smaller pieces of land available, then we might have two different structures. We don't know. We won't know really exactly what the downtown presence would look like until we know what is available. So I think that's the best way to answer that question. So it is certainly more than one building, because at least there is the one on campus, and then there will be another downtown.
All right, so when you say on campus, you're talking about your Westdale
campus.
The existing campus. Thank you. And so, you know, staff have identified 3 parking lots, and we talked about those parking lots, and my concern around them was, what if they were not suitable for what McMaster wants to do? Is the city then going to be in a position to look at purchasing a piece of property and then donating it over to you? Can you answer that, please?
It's not envisaged that the city would purchase other land to donate to the university. These 3 lots have been arrived at by narrowing down the possibilities because we believe they would be suitable.
All right, so what I'm hearing, and I want everybody to hear this clearly from you, because I heard it on the phone conversation, is of the 3 lots that have been identified, one of them would be suitable.
That's our view.
Any one of them would be suitable.
That is our view.
So when we're talking about land, we're talking about the city donating land, but it would be existing city property that is owned by the taxpayers.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Any money that you're expecting over and above that, would there be any costs to the city in this partnership that you can foresee?
No, there's no expectation of a further contribution from the city at all.
All right. And in the application process with the provincial government for these funds to be able to leverage, what is the criteria for the city's involvement? What does it clearly say in there about what is required?
Roger can maybe find the exact words. It speaks simply to a commitment from the city. The issue of what that ought to be really is, I think, indicated by the kind of competition we're in. Here we are. The general evaluation criteria. 1, evidence of substantial support from host community, including financial contributions and land ownership. And then there are a number of other 6 or so other criteria, but that's the only one that bears on this particular question. So obviously it has to be substantial, of either a financial or a land sort. Now, to my point about this being a very competitive process, as you're aware, some of the other municipalities in partnership with universities that are making proposals here involve extremely substantial contributions, as in the $50 million valued piece of 100 acres or so in Milton for a partnership with Laurier. So it's a tough competition. But we believe the proposal we would put to the province with the kind of contribution we've been suggesting to council today would be a very strong proposal once we built the whole thing into the total picture.
Well, I appreciate you clarifying that, because that was another concern that I had, was with this being such a highly competitive process, that would 2.5 acres of donated land be strong enough? And, you know, would there be a requirement for cash on top of that? So council's mandate, we must look after our taxpayers, and we must look to increase our tax revenue base whenever possible. And, you know, so that's really my number one concern. We did hear about the economic spin-offs, and so I won't go into that, and I'll leave the rest of the questions to my council colleagues. Thank you, and thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. I have Councillor Ferguson next. Questions?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few questions, and welcome, gentlemen. And I tell you, you should be very proud. I think your board should be very proud, your faculty, and of course the whole community, that you're in the top 100 of 16,000 universities. That's an amazing achievement, which leads me to my second question. I heard a presentation from a demographic expert at the 2013 Economic Summit. And in fact, he was the author of The Boom, Bust, and Echo. And he was making reference to the declining enrollment we're seeing in elementary schools and in secondary schools. And we certainly witness that here in Hamilton. We have a numerous elementary and very painful closure of secondary schools because of declining enrollment. you seem to be dodging that bullet. And I remember the speaker said, I would not want to be in the post-secondary education business over the next 10 years because as it slips through elementary, secondary, it's going to hit post-secondary. Here's Mac out expanding, building a nice new health facility across the road, now want a building for 1,000 additional students downtown. Are you dodging that bullet? And if so, is it because you're rated one of the top 100 out of 16,000 universities?
Well, I think your question does imply the appropriate answer here. But first, I just observe that there have been a number of predictions about demographic trends over the last couple of decades, none of which have really proven accurate as far as they bear on enrollment in the province of Ontario. Because you will remember that after the elimination of grade 13, there was the prediction that we'd have an increased cohort that would come through like a bubble and then numbers would drop off. They have not declined at all. They've continued to go up. So there are higher rates of participation from new Canadians, higher rates of participation from Indigenous Canadians. And so those are factors that are altering that one prediction, which has been around a long time, that there would be a kind of precipitous drop-off. So that's not to say that there won't come a time when enrollment will begin to decline. I mean, we see it out in the Maritimes, for example. But I think in raising the question of the university's place in the top 100, you get to the point. I mean, this is an outstanding institution. We have numerous programs which are amongst the most sought-after programs in the country. So that in keeping our sights set on raising ourselves even higher in those rankings, there's another set of rankings to come out soon, and we are hoping to see the same kind of improvement there. By securing an even stronger position for ourselves as an outstanding world university, we will be naturally a focus for students from not only in this province and this community, but across the country to come here. So that will be, I think, our key insurance against future demographic decline.
Because the obvious question or obvious concern is that you build these new facilities and you can't fill them up because that decline in enrollment hits post-secondary and they sit idle. So you can assure the taxpayers of our community then that you're still okay from a registration number. And maybe a way to prove that, and it may be a difficult question to answer. The test would be, what percentage of applicants do you turn down? And I know it's different whether it's health or engineering or business or whatever. Do you have a macro number, total applications coming into the university, and how many are declined or turned away because there's no space?
Councillor, we do have those figures, though I don't have them in my head right now. I think our application rates are very, very healthy. When we receive the stats on application to all the universities across the province, we do very well. And the most significant thing is applicants indicate whether a university is their first, second, or third choice. And we do extremely well on the first choice applicants, which means we are getting the cream of the crop. And then there are still many students who would come here as a second or third choice who are going elsewhere but might come here if circumstances were different, they could get into their programs. So I can't, let me be honest, I cannot promise we will not have to contend with this issue, but I think so long as we are a university of the standing that we are, and so long as our investment in research is as critical as it is, that is what keeps us up there. I think the vitality of these projects in the downtown is not in question.
Okay. Did you have something to add to that, Roger?
Go ahead, Roger.
Susan has the data.
So
I don't know if Council is prepared to allow one of our colleagues to come down to the floor, who I think has the answer
if she
to
can answer the question, Mr. Chairman, I would appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Good.
So this is Dr. Susan Seau-Giroux, and she's our Associate Vice President Academic and current and sort of number 2 on the academic side to the Provost.
I'm impressed.
Yes, so let me give you one, I think, very pertinent example. We have a Bachelor of Health Sciences degree. This is extremely sought after. Our freshman intake is about 150 students. The program itself is around 300 or so. We get 5,000 applicants for that single program. We are turning away students who are having averages of 98% coming out of school. I deal with their extremely frustrated parents, so I'm very well aware of the quality of students we're turning away. I mean, they're extraordinary, talented students, and they tend not to go to other local schools. They will go to an MIT or to Harvard if they don't, but their first choice is McMaster.
So just for clarity in that, Doctor, you're saying that the program you're going to put in this facility has an application of about, did I hear you say 5,000 students?
Yes, sir.
And you accept 500?
The intake for first year is at roughly 125, 150, I believe.
Out of 5,000 applications?
That's correct.
Okay, you convinced me. Thank you. That's there's interest in this program. And how many will that go up by if you get this facility, the 150?
So one of the things we hope to do with moving a number of programs downtown is to open up space on the campus, which would allow us to grow things like the Bachelor of Health Sciences, hopefully by another 100 or so, I mean, to begin. It will be still deeply inadequate to the...
Yeah.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just back to you, Dr. Dean, then. Whenever I ask, during the stadium debate, other issue going on in our community, whenever I asked IO, I asked the contractor, I asked staff, our building staff, what's the percentage chance that stadium will be ready for Labor Day? They hated that question. So I won't ask you that question, what's the percentage chance you're going to get the funding? But I will ask you this question because you keep saying there's a lot of competition for this money. How many universities do you think will be applying for it, and how much money is available?
We don't know how much money is available. The majority of the universities in the province are interested in securing a part of this available money. So, and I would say there are at least 5 or 6 that are extremely strong.
Is McMaster one of those 5 or 6?
I regard ours as a very strong proposal, yes.
Okay. So we still have a lot of gates to go through in this yet then?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay. And how much your ask will be? Did I see a number Roger put up there? Your ask will be, is it 25 million is the number I saw?
From the province?
Yes.
I think it would be higher, Roger.
We will go in with a much higher request of the province. The total project on those 2 sites that we articulated is around $130 million. That would mean that the provincial ask would be close to $100 million.
Your ask to the province will be $100 million.
In that range, yes.
And you have $25 million that will come from the university, then the land from the city. These are the 3 partners.
Yes.
Okay. I'm glad I made that clear. Maybe this next question is better for Roger. Have you seen the amendment that Councillor Farr spoke to? Have you actually seen the wording that's going to be proposed later on?
Yes, I was consulted in the development of that wording.
Okay. Are you okay with that
Yes.
wording? Do I need to read it to you, or do you know it?
If it hasn't changed from the one I went through yesterday, then I'm fine with it.
Okay. And, I fully support this. This is exciting. And I just repeat again that there's no cash required from the city. It's land. We don't have to write a check. We don't have to dip into reserves. You want a parking lot. That's correct?
Correct.
That's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Powers.
I have one question. Put me on the speakers list for when Councillor Farr's motion comes up. Just to build on the good doctor, 25 years ago, my daughter applied to McMaster for the Bachelor of Science in Nursing program. 25 years ago. She had 87.3%, did not make the cut, came back the next year, applied for one of 20 spots that were available. It was 80 came out of straight high school and 20 others. There was 743 applied for those 20 spots 25 years ago, and I'm assuming it's gone up and down like this. So certainly McMaster has established its face in not only this country but internationally, and we're a place to come. My one question is, and perhaps building on Councillor Ferguson's question, is on the basis of the projected, I'm going to take the top end, 140, I'm going to roll it up to 150 on the basis of the realities. Are we expected to come in at $50 million? Is there something in the formula, perhaps Mr. Calder or Dr. Dean, that dictates kind of the way that the federal government and the provinces are going now on the kind of the third scenario? So Are we expected to come in with a third of the value, or a significant contribution, I think has been referred to by both of you. Please.
It's a very good question. No, I don't think there is an expectation that there's a sort of an optimal ratio of municipal contribution to the total cost of the project. I think what they're really interested in is achieving the goals that are laid out in the criteria, the ability to expand by a certain number of students, the economic benefit to the community, all of those things. And if the configuration of the proposal looks persuasive, I think one will be in there, regardless of how much the contribution is. Would that be right, Rog, in your view?
I think that is correct. I don't believe there'll be any federal money, just to clarify that point. This is a provincial competition, and there's not, I think you're thinking of the Super Bowl or something of that type.
Well, I'm thinking of, and being very, very conversant of, just finishing off my presidency of the Associated Municipality, I know that the way the financing scenarios are being played under the various budgets, so there might not be federal money, but this mindset seems to be coming out in a lot of the formulas now that we're seeing. So thank you for the answer.
Yes, we actually see a similar thing when we make capital requests to the province, and one of the reasons that we've got this contribution in there is to deal with that exact point.
Thank you. Councillor Clark, you're next on my list.
Thank you very much. I just have a few questions, and I do want to thank Dr. Dean for spending a great deal of time with me the other day on the phone. It helped clarify a lot of issues with me in terms of what transpired and when it did. I don't think Councillor Farr has much to apologize for. He simply brought the information to us at that particular time, but beyond that, now's not the time to deal with it. With regards to the students, and I listened very carefully, and I'm just a little bit confused. You're talking about student enrollment on the main campus and here, and you said gross numbers. So can you help me understand, because when we start using gross and net, I phase into accounting, and we can just actual. If we could talk actual bums in seats, that would be excellent.
I can try to clarify that. So the minimum requirement is that one should grow one's capacity by 1,000 students. The desire of the provincial government is to see a considerable increase beyond that, but over time. So the short-term goal, which they define as about 3 years, is an increase of at least 1,000. So we're beginning with the assumption that we must grow at least that. And the intention is to do it through a combination of two things. One is to decant some of the students from the Westdale campus to the campus we're proposing downtown. These are the senior undergrad students, quite likely rehab and some related fields, thereby creating some room on campus for growth in some other programs, such as the Bachelor of Health Sciences program we were talking about. So I think the answer, Councillor Clark, is that if you combine what we intend to occur downtown with what we are doing on the campus, at the outset, we would be seeking to grow by about 1,000.
And the expansion program, all of that's available through the ministry online, and they are pointing to 1,000 new seats and asking for municipal support. And actually, you can actually see all the notices of intent online, which was actually very helpful because you can see what your competitors are doing. And so what McMaster is doing is rather innovative. Instead of simply building a new facility off of campus, which was the specific request in the criteria, you're decanting students from McMaster, so transferring to this other location, and then creating the new seats there, or the room. Is that paraphrasing? Okay, excellent. Thank you very much. We also had a great deal of discussion, and I had some emails back and forth with some members of your staff about my position that it's simply a grant of land to McMaster, and why aren't we looking at something more synergistic whereby we would be looking at increasing actual tax revenue in the building by having a mixed-use building with those senior students in that building. It seems to me that we could be dealing with parking, we could be dealing with mixed-use retail on the main floor, which is quite common on your campuses. You could deal with 3 or 4 floors of university space and perhaps even have residences or condos above that, or office space above that. I don't know. That would be something that the province would look at as being very innovative, because where municipality actually increases property taxes, not on you, you pay the pills, but in everything else, if 50% of the building is being used by MAC, then 50% of the building we'd get property taxes on. And there didn't seem to be much take-up from yourself or the staff. Could you explain why?
I don't think that's an unreasonable kind of vision. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I'd agree with you that it is an innovative way to think about this. And I think my answer would be that we'd certainly be open to developing in that direction over time. I think the question is that it's probably not feasible to put together such a proposal within the time frame as we have it. The point I would make, though, is that I think this is a point I made to Councillor McCarthy the other day. I see this as the beginning of an expansion of our presence downtown. So moving in the direction of the kind of mixed-use facility you're talking about makes perfect sense to me in the long run, and would maximize both the benefits to the university and to the city. Could I, Councillor, just make 1.2 about this decanting issue? One of the challenges we face with this proposal is that what we place downtown has to be more or less self-contained, because it's very difficult to imagine students having to move from a class on the Westdale campus to a downtown campus to complete a course of study. So we're initially trying to locate down here programs that can be more or less taught in that one location. But as we evolve in the direction you're suggesting, the facilities could become considerably more versatile.
Yes, we're at the point now where we're being asked to just hand over land, and we lose the commercial value of that land, because right now the land values in downtown Hamilton are increasing. We could actually be looking at a partnership. So why wouldn't we be looking at some terms of reference to work together towards that, as opposed to the simplest mechanism that is coming forward? Give us the land, we'll build our building, and we'll give you $75 per seat. That's all we're going to get on the site. I mean, we're stretched beyond reason here. You know, we're approaching $2 billion debt. We have $200 million in infrastructure deficit. You know, our property taxpayers are paying 86% of our tax load. We're looking at every opportunity to maximize tax return. And it would appear to me that just getting the agreement from McMaster and Hamilton to actually work on this together and submit that to the ministry would go much further than simply saying that we're handing over land. We're actually talking about working on a synergistic project together. It would be relatively simple for the city manager to draft together some terms of reference for that, to attach it to your document.
Well, I mean, as I say, the university is certainly not averse to this idea. And I mean, I could indicate right here that I'd be very open to these discussions with the city.
But that has to be in this document going forward. Otherwise, we're simply given land and going back to the old paradigm of handing over land and walking away.
The document could, the proposal to the province could certainly allude to these discussions and to the notion that we regard that kind of evolution as desirable. I'd have no problem with that. What I would say too, though, is I think the benefits to the city from even what is being proposed here, notwithstanding your suggestion, will bring considerable economic benefit to the city beyond foregone tax revenues. So I do think it's not a losing proposition at the start. It's a good proposition for the city at the start, but it could be better following suggestions such as you've made.
I 100% agree, but I can also point to the harmonized tax that is going to be paid on all of the sales from all of those students, and that goes to the province and the feds. So why wouldn't they be paying for all of it? So the fact is, we want to find innovative, synergistic ways to increase our property taxes, improve the development downtown, get rid of a brownfield site, provide the parking that's required, the mixed use. It seems to be good urban planning. And if you're on side with it, and it sounds like you are, then I'll ask questions of the city manager at the appropriate time in terms of how we can actually deal with the terms of reference for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Whitehead, questions of the presenters?
Thank you. I guess my first question, thank you for being here, Dean. The province created an initiative and a program. What problem were they trying to solve?
Oh, I think I can answer that very straightforwardly. They project a very, very significant demand for places in the universities over the next couple of years. The figure that has been discussed a great deal over the last couple of years is approximately an increase of 60,000 new places in the province's universities, and they are looking for a way in which to accommodate those students that does not involve the huge cost of creating new independent institutions. If you look at what's happened with enrollment in the province of Ontario over the last 8 to 10 years, enrollment has increased more or less to the level at which it would be equivalent to the creation of a new University of Toronto, a New York University, and you could throw another one in there. The enrollment growth has been huge. So institutions are stretched to capacity, and yet the province has a very ambitious goal, which is for 70% of the population of Ontario to hold a post-secondary credential, which means there's got to be some space found in the universities and the colleges, and I think that is the initiative behind this.
I appreciate it, because I think that context is important. The second piece is, which was a bit puzzling for me, because you know, working for a cabinet minister at the provincial and federal level, normally you have a competitive process. You announce how many dollars are in that, whether it's $1 billion or 1.2 billion or whatever is available. So you got a sense on, is it just one university is going to be able to access these funds, or it'll be two universities to be able to access these funds? You're telling me that the Treasury Board, or there's no information in regards to actually how much is being allocated for this initiative?
There's no public figure out there, no. I'm sure in government they know and have identified the figure, but it's not been disclosed.
Interesting. The third question is, you indicated that there's a residential component to this application. The province has made it clear in the past that they don't fund residents. I know, because I've been fighting for residents from Mohawk College to try and take the load off the surrounding neighborhood. Are you saying now with this proposal that they're going to be receptive to funding residents?
No. The residential component is in the on-campus part of this proposal, and that part would be funded by the university.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, because it was a little bit muddled. The next question I have is I think it was our economic development person had indicated that when you're looking for something that's recession-proof, you talked about the food industry, for example, and the fact that we had Maple Leaf on that was a good thing, because even in a downturn in the economy, people are still buying food. So I guess my question, I guess to bolster why this would be a good project in downtown, is if there's a downturn in the economy, what changes at the university relative to enrollment in that? Does anything change?
The pattern is usually that pressure on enrollment goes up during times of economic difficulty as people seek to qualify themselves for whatever jobs are available, which is one of the reasons why, when we think about the programs we would situate downtown, we're thinking of a number of B-Tech programs that would be keyed to the needs of industry, for example, and similarly a range of health programs that would speak to the needs of the city. So I think, universities and higher education institutions generally do not suffer during those kinds of times. In fact, they're there to perform an important public service and rebuild the economy.
So I guess the point I'm getting is that it would have the same moniker in regards to being somewhat recession-proof or resilient, I guess would be the terminology I would use.
I think it would be resilient, yeah.
So when we're talking about downtown, how it may in fact impact downtown, you would have a stabilizing force with this kind of proposal. Would that be a statement that would be?
I'd agree entirely. I think it's a very good point.
Thank you. The other question I was going to ask is, One of the concerns is loss of tax revenue, because as you can appreciate, it's heads and beds that hasn't been contributed to the or increased to the cities across this province since the 70s, and I think it hasn't been kept up with the cost of services. So some of the skepticism from maybe perhaps my colleagues, but certainly some people in the community, is that we'll be foregoing tax revenue for something much less financially. How would you respond to that?
I think that would be to underestimate the long-term economic knock-on benefits of what we're talking about here. And I don't think they would be in the extreme long term either. I think the impact on local business and so on would be considerable. Maybe I could ask Roger to comment on this, because I think it is it's important to see the big picture over time here. Roger?
Yeah, I think we might think about MIP when we think about the answer to that question, Terry. The City Council made a $5 million contribution to the Innovation Park. It's got to be a decade ago now. And we've seen significant expansion out of the Innovation Park. And some of those have been tax-paying businesses that are ensconced out there. My approach to this personally is that I firmly believe that there will in fact be significant economic development spin-offs from the investment. I think history has proven that. I think to Councillor Clark's comments earlier on, in the building, one would expect there to be significant student services opportunities for local businesses, just to use a small example of what might be possible. So. And Patrick spoke earlier about what has been prevalent in the US with respect to downtown city rejuvenation through post-secondary education. So I think there's lots of examples out there. I think the challenge for people making the investment is that there could be a short-term cost in return for a much larger long-term gain. And I think that's the point that people, the bridge that people need to get across, Terry. That's at least my perspective.
Well, I asked the tough question. I wanted to ensure that people understood that on the broader picture as we move forward, that there's real potential for greater attraction and tax generating businesses as a result of making these kinds of decisions. The next question I have is, it was indicated, I think you indicated, or was maybe the Dean, Patrick, that it's transparent in the context of who's applying for this particular program and what their initiatives are. So can you give us some context, just so that we understand what commitments have been made to date by other municipalities as it pertains to this initiative?
The ones we're aware of, one of them very local in Milton with Wilfrid Laurier. There has been a very significant set of transactions that have taken place there, involving a local property developer. And the value of the Milton contribution is being costed at $50 million. The City of Barrie has a very informative website for those that would have interest. And they have committed $14 million to this activity, to the bid that's going on in Barrie. And the only other one that I think is public, Terry, is in relation to Woodstock, if I remember correctly, where City Council has handed over a building that they acquired. And have said that this is my phraseology, that's a down payment on a significant investment that they're proposing to make. So those three are public. Beyond that, I think Mrs. Saga has contributed $10 million. I stand to be corrected here. I think $10 million to the UTM project, I believe. So there's a significant... those are significant competitors that we're going to have to compete against.
And the reason I asked the question again is to show, one, how competitive it's going to be, and two, the degree of importance municipalities have placed on this initiative in other areas. And I wanted to highlight that through that question, so I appreciate that. I know going back, and this seems to be the beginning of more of an integration of the university with the City of Hamilton. Certainly with the health center across the street and with what's being proposed here, and often some of the criticism of McMaster has been it's too insular and hasn't really reached out into the community. So this is a great start. The other piece that a number of years ago, and I know that then Mayor Morrow would remember, is we were trying to get student residents downtown. There was a study done, and a postgraduate program was determined by the Student Association and others to be the most feasible based on the age, maturity, marriage, etc., as a program that could, residents that could be located in our downtown. Will you be willing to take the dust off that study and look at a residential component for a postgraduate program downtown?
We're still very much open to that idea as a separate project from this one, because it's been obvious that would be an extremely sensible thing to do, and I think the time may be right to actually, as you say, take the dust off it and look at it again.
Appreciate it. Those are my questions, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. My questions are for staff, please.
Okay. Put you on another list. Councillor McCaddy.
Thanks, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I just wanted to, lots of questions, and I got lots of answers already, good questions from my colleagues, but I just wanted to clarify the overall dollar figures from the the two levels of government and then McMaster University. Am I right, looking down on the back page of your presentation, the overall cost, both on campus and downtown, 130 to 140 million, so that's the figure up the top of the page, and then where that funding would come from, or the proposal for where that funding would come from. The City of Hamilton at 1.8 to 3.2 million, that's in our staff report. The three parcels of land that are being talked about are in that range. That's why there's a range for the three parcels. McMaster, on your slide, is talking about a $25 million commitment, Mr. Deputy Mayor. And the remainder would come from the province. Is that correct? So the $100 million ballpark request to the province.
Yep, that's correct.
Correct. So I think that's pretty significant to note that if we're successful, I'll say we, not just McMaster, but Hamilton and McMaster are successful in this endeavor, bringing a campus downtown, Mr. Deputy Mayor. $100 million from the province, $25 million from MAC, and anywhere from 1.8 to 3.2 million from the City of Hamilton. I think that's important to look at where our investment in the form of land would stack up against the other dollars that would flow from this project. The other municipalities, Roger just touched on a couple of them, Barrie, Milton, Mississauga. They're contributing more than Hamilton. If we just look at the dollar figures, 14 for Barrie, 50 Milton, perhaps 10 from Mississauga. But I think it's important, I would expect in the proposal to the province, McMaster would include some of the historic and recent history investments that the City of Hamilton, this City Council, has provided to McMaster, the $20 million for the downtown family medicine facility next door, the $4 million land contribution for the Fraunhofer project at McMaster Innovation Park, the 80 to 100 PhDs, the life sciences research and project for that. And other contributions going back a bit further, Roger, you mentioned the $5 million for MIP, which came from the Future Fund about a decade, or probably about 12 or 13 years ago now. I think time flies. So I think it's important, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to make sure they're identified as well, because we have contributed significantly. This particular council has contributed significantly to McMaster. But all those numbers are important, but particularly the breakdown of where this $130 million, $140 million project will come from is important. So those are the figures I just wanted to clarify, and I look forward to the motion coming forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I have Councillor Marula, who's welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and welcome once again. And as you knew, or you know, from the first presentation. I'm enthusiastically supporting this particular project. And I think one thing that I've heard to date is the concern surrounding expenditure, but not too much of a focus on the economies of scale and the return for that investment. So through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, if, sir, you could highlight for us today, clearly, when incorporating the economies of scale, the importance of this particular project from a bottom line figure for the city as it's outlined in the presentation.
Right, I'll make a stab at that, and then perhaps Roger can supplement my comments. I think the economic benefits of this project would obviously begin with the potential to bring new students into the downtown, and the money they would spend, the needs they would have in the city that would, of course, stimulate business in the city. This would also increase our ability to attract more talent to the university and long-term to the city. It would also increase our ability to educate students within the city in a way that would make them want to stay in the city in the long term and open businesses and so on. I think then, of course, there are other forms of business that would be attracted to build close to this facility, and as the different components of McMaster's presence downtown becomes greater, obviously that kind of impact would increase exponentially. Anything you'd say, Rog, to enlarge on this?
I apologize, I didn't fully hear the question, but I think an item I could add, if it's relevant, is that there's also, if you think about the Innovation Park for a moment, and the seed money that went into the Innovation Park, most recently we've had some very significant success there with the Automotive Resource Center, and Dr. Ali Ahmadi, who's the lead in that location, I think, if I'm correct, I'll look to my colleague, I think has so far gained somewhere in the range of $40 million of research grants. Those research grants obviously are spent in this location, employing students, employing staff. It's in and of itself a very significant return on that investment.
Okay, so I guess the figure or the point that needs to be highlighted is that for what they're asking for in kind, compared to what the return for that in kind request is obviously in the best interest of the taxpayer. But more so than that, to you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I think the issue surrounding utilizing land that has potential assessment growth versus non-potential growth. Case in point, City Hall Tower, where there is no potential for future assessment growth, where the city receives the capital contribution for developing it, as well as the activity and everything else that spins off from it from an economic perspective, which is the proposal that I strongly support. So through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, looking at some of the concerns around this table, I'm hoping in listening to those concerns that the tower that can be built here at City Hall, from my perspective, is the best case scenario, and one that you will take into account and seriously. And I'm hoping you can respond accordingly as well.
Do you want to go ahead, Roger?
Sure. Yes, Councillor Mueller, I think the three sites that are on the table will be each considered very seriously with respect to staff recommendations and our own objectives. They each have their own advantages and they each have their own disadvantages. This one, I understand from a city perspective, has some unique characteristics that will, in the minds of some people, make it the more attractive site. But it's very hard at this stage for us to finalise on any one location, because we really haven't had very much in the way of discussions with the city staff on any of those characteristics. We don't know zoning, we don't know density, we don't know parking, we don't know. So we're at an early stage of that process, and one of the reasons we wanted to bring this opportunity to you was so that we could in fact get your blessing and then have those detailed discussions with staff in a constructive way. So that's very much the process we're in. But I do hear you loudly and clearly.
And that was my point, and I thank you very much for your time once again. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Jackson, question for the presenters.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I'm glad that Councillor McCaddy just reminded the public, mostly Dr. Dean, of
past and current councils, wonderful partnership and contributions to our beloved, prestigious university, the Health Campus, Innovation Park, Fraunhofer, stem cell research land, and now what's going to occur with this as well, which I'm sure will get this committee support to at least go to the next step. And when I met you, Dr. Dean, you've been in town now about 3 years, give or take, 4. I remember one of your biggest missions and desires was to do more outreach in the community and with the municipality. So you've definitely been good to your word on that and consulting with and wanting to work with the city. So, Mr. Deputy Mayor, through to Dr. Dean, the previous colleague has raised his strong passion for believing one of the sites is the best, being City Hall Plaza. I obviously will take a contrary view to that, and I don't want to get hung up today on City Hall Plaza. I've stated my reasons in my emails to my colleagues. The majority of us fought for this 1960s building. It's the hall and center of municipal government. City Hall Plaza for me should always stay that way. The back tower that Stan Roscoe, the architect, designed for this building was always meant to bring more City Hall employees home with the second tower. So I don't want to get hung up on that. What I heard from you, Roger and Dr. Dean, was that you're open-minded and you'll maintain that approach as we move forward. Appreciate that very much. Thanks, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. I have Mayor Bettina and then Councillor Clark for a second time with questions.
Mr. Deputy Mayor, do the provincial criteria allow for partnering with other institutions?
I think, yeah, technically they're certainly not proscribed by the guidelines.
Because I had some discussions, Mr. Deputy Mayor, beginning about 8 years ago with another institution. The principles were all agreed upon, but the timing, capital demands, and so on left it out there. So I might want to talk to you about that later. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark.
Thank you. And just to clarify, it is permissible. It doesn't say that you can't do that.
No, as I understand it.
So I just want to read a possible amendment and get your response to it. I spoke with the city manager and his staff about my earlier suggestion. So it reads the following, Mr. Deputy Mayor, that the city manager on behalf of the city council work with McMaster University to explore public-private partnership, if feasible, to assist in the generation of property taxes.
No objection to that.
I'll move it at the appropriate time.
Okay, I don't have a motion yet, but excuse me, when the motion is put, excuse me, as amended, I will come back to you. I have a speakers list now for, sorry, that's it for questions for the presenters here this afternoon. I need a motion to receive, moved by Jackson, seconded by Johnson. All those in favor, that carries. Thank you very much for your delegation. Appreciate responses. I now have questions of staff. And then I'll move on to Councillor Farr to present the revised motion, and then we'll go on to comments. Yeah, I do have a speaker's list for comments. And for staff, I have Councillors Johnson and Whitehead. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Through you, Deputy Mayor, to staff, and I would assume this is Mr. Murray's purview. My understanding is that the request is for a potential property that is parking lot. I've sat around this table long enough now to hear that we've got parking issues downtown Hamilton. Is this just going to exacerbate the problem, not only setting up and eliminating a parking lot, but causing for more parking to occur?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, I think Section E of the motion addresses that issue. Our concern, similar to yours, was the net loss of parking. So what we're working with the university on is ensuring that whatever parking spaces are present there on the site today, that when it's all said and done, we would still have those parking spots. So, you know, as this downtown grows, parking is going to continue to be important. So we don't see a net loss in parking happening.
I'm sorry. I'm really hard to hear you. Can you just say the last sentence, please?
So, for example, if one of the sites had 100 parking spots there today, when this development is done, there'll be 100 parking spots there when it's finished, plus whatever the university needs to accommodate its growth.
Okay, because I'm just trying to recognize the fact that my fellow colleague across the table here has constantly been, has been pointing out parking issues, as we all have been in our own wards, and I just don't want to exacerbate the problem. You heard the motion that was read. I know you've been working with a good councillor on this motion. I just want to get some public response from you about this motion, about a true partnership of having private, maybe condos, office space. That was thrown around a little bit. Can you comment on that, please?
I mean, we've, through you, Deputy Mayor, as it's been said in spades here today, I think, we've worked very well with the university over the years. And so, I guess in short, the motion that Councillor Clark had proposed, absolutely. We believe that, given the opportunity, we will be able to come up with something that will make this council happy. I just want to add, though, the comment about the focus on the downtown. No question, you unanimously gave us that direction, as well as the waterfront, and we've made lots of strides on that. I'm just going to add to it, and it's consistent with what I heard you say during the questioning of Dr. Dean. As much as we're interested in residential development, condo development to support students or whatever, we're also interested in non-residential tax base. In other words, any commercial opportunity that could be built in. If it was office as well, that's not a problem. So, we would want to, in our discussions with MAC, we'd want to be making sure that, we start to up the number of properties we have in the city that are commercial or maybe even office related. So I would want to have that conversation with them.
And thank you. And I only said condo because I was just reiterating what I was hearing, but I do like that. It really perked my interest up a lot better. And I do like that motion. I've even offered to second it. So thank you for your answer, sir. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Whitehead, questions of staff.
Has staff seen a business case or plan for this yet?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, we're still in the early stages. Nothing that I would call a business case, no.
Okay, and then my second question is to Norm. I believe you've got some data in regards to experiences of educational type institutions in downtowns.
Through the councillor, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, to the councillor. There were a couple of studies that we looked at. Given the short notice, one of them just an executive summary of one study. And it's a longitudinal study that was done in Brantford that examined the economic impacts of the Laurier campus, the Mohawk campus, and the Nipissing campus there as well. And it had some interesting results. And what was good about this is that it wasn't just speculating on economic impacts, but it was actually talking about, here was a snapshot in 2005, and here's a snapshot in 2011. And over that course of time, for instance, in 2005, there was a baseline study that estimated the total average economic impact of all post-secondary institutions in Brantford over the next 5 years would be 39 to 49 million. It actually was in 2011 from 43.3 to 58.5 million. I mean, there are a lot of stats here. I mean, the student spending is about equivalent to $6,000 per student, and that's consistent with the study that we saw in Niagara Falls as well, and the proposal that they were doing. But I guess from an economic uplift and spin-off activities, there wasn't a ton of information, but what we did find was that that same study looked at in 2011, there were 47% of downtown companies responding to a survey, reported revenues of greater than $500,000. And that was compared to 29% when the study was first commenced in 2005. So it appears that the businesses down there were experiencing uplift during that 6-year period of the study.
Thank you. So I just wanted to establish that it appears that there is empirical data that indicates that there is an economic uplift with such institutions, and I want to just verify that through staff. Thank you very much.
Now, at this point in time, I'm going to ask, I have no further speakers for questions. I'm going to ask that we move items 8.1 and 9.1 up on the agenda. We are currently under public hearings and delegations, but instead of waiting, I know Councillor Farr is taking a nature break right now, so I'm going to need a mover. Councillor Clark, Councillor Ferguson, on moving 8.1 and 9.1 up on the agenda. All in favour? Carries. Thank you. I have 8.1 then in front of you, which is an information report. Moved by Ferguson, seconded by Johnson. All those in favour? Carries. Thank you. That's to receive the information report. 9.1 is the motion that we currently have, and here comes Councillor Farr. Councillor Farr, I now ask that you lift 9.1 from the table. We've moved it up in the agenda. We've received 8.1. Yep. We still need to, Madam Clerk.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, actually it's 9.2 that needs to be lifted. 9.1 was a notice of motion. It does not need to be lifted. The last motion, 9.2, sorry, is the one that needs to be lifted. This one was a notice of motion last time it didn't need the agenda. So he just withdraw.
Yep, so we have 9.2 then. Councillor, you want to read that out first then in its amended form? Madam Clerk?
He's reading out 9.1. 9.2 is the motion that needs to be lifted. So he's going to withdraw his original motion that's in the agenda as 9.1, and he's going to put forward the new one.
Councillor Farr, on that direction.
So I will first withdraw the original motion. Move to withdraw, seconded by Councillor Marula.
All in favor? Thank you. On the new motion?
I would like to present it. Many of the whereases are identical to what we had. I'm certain we don't need to go through all of the many good points.
Yes.
But I will offer for public record, therefore be it resolved, A through E. A, that City Council provide a letter of endorsement to McMaster University to be included as part of the provincial submission. B, that the City of Hamilton, City, agree conditional on provincial support and a successful application and on compliance with the City's sale of land policy bylaw to transfer a City-owned property and S in parentheses, pluralized, that is agreeable to both the City of Hamilton and McMaster University for the sole and exclusive intent of fulfilling the initiative outlined within its provincial submission. C, that the city manager work with staff and McMaster University to identify a specific property or properties. D, that the city manager report back to GIC on the status of the application and for approval of any identified specific properties and any associated potential land negotiations. And finally, E, that McMaster work with the City of Hamilton on meeting parking requirements, and in the event a surface lot becomes the optimum candidate, the replacement of the lost parking spots and revenue. And very briefly,
sorry, Councillor, before you go on, I had some questions and hands in the air in terms of who doesn't have the motion in front of you. Anyone need a copy of that? Councillor Jackson? Just before I just want to be clear in terms of what we're voting on. So the clerk does have extra copies. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor.
You okay? So this is moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Lloyd Ferguson, and briefly, we made some very good points here today, and I know we have a long meeting ahead of us. This is vitality, this is a partnership, this is participation, this is economic uplift, and we will see that. I have looked a lot at other, whether it's Chicago or Brantford, there are a tremendous amount of economic benefits to making this investment and continuing to work with MAC. As Dr. Dean had noted, this is just the beginning. There is tremendous value, there is tremendous opportunity here, as I am hopeful of the majority of my colleagues who even were on the fence of just a few short hours ago may now be clearly agreeing with. We are supporting a mandate, strategic mandate of this body. 2012 through 2015, we're in our strategic mandate. We're to support the accelerated revitalization of our downtown, and this meets that mandate in spades. And, you know, this is not just any university, and it's been noted. This is the McMaster University. This is a world-class institution, and that's hard to put a value on a partnership where we're working together and where we continue to work together with a university of such stature, top 100 in the world, and certainly in all aspects, they seem to get better and better and better. $11 million for a 65-unit residential student residence in Brantford. In the past 12 years, there's been a significant amount down the road of investment. I know we had asked those questions, and certainly staff have alluded to some of the stuff that's gone on there, but I private sector investments, about $35 million in Brantford, since they've focused a great deal on revitalizing their downtown with post-secondary education over the last 10 years. Businesses in Brantford are reporting 40% tripling of the kinds of businesses they've been getting in a 6-year period, and office vacancies are way down. Vitality, the students and what they're bringing, and the businesses that are opening, the small cafes, the shops, the restaurants that cater to the needs of kids, young men and women with buying power, and certainly existing businesses in our downtown core would welcome that kind of economic uplift. It goes on, as I noted, and I won't get into any other greater details on how valuable this is to our community as a whole. In advance, I'm very, very much appreciative of all the great questions and comments that I've heard, not just today, but over the last 3 weeks, and particularly the work of our qualified staff and, of course, our educational leaders at our world-class institution known as McMaster. So hopefully we get some support here today.
Thank you, Councillor. And I do have a speakers list of Councillor Powers, myself, Councillor Morrow, Partridge, and I, of course, haven't forgotten Councillor Clark wants the an amendment presented, as well as requested to speak on the list. So, Councillor Powers, you're next.
So first off, I'd like to thank Councillor Farr for allowing us to have a full and complete discussion on this with all the parties and information, and we accept your apology. It was all process, you know that. I certainly support the suggestion that's going here. MAC has, over the decades, in fact centuries, shown its commitment to the city of Hamilton, has given its prominence to a lot of our children, and some individuals that are sitting around the table here are products of the McMaster education program. They've evolved with the time. A number of the universities and colleges have just remained stagnant across North America, but they've evolved with the times and evolved with the challenges and evolved with the opportunities. The good doctors have outlined the programs that are in demand, that are oversubscribed, and I think if there's an opportunity for us to be a partner, to do it, to make, I'm going to say, an appropriate and realistic contribution, I think it's worthy of our participation. I just want to add one little codicil at the very end. On page 6, it's suggesting 3 locations, just to put it on record. In the 87 days that I have left here, 14 hours, 32 minutes, 16 seconds, but who's counting? It is that, I know, you're trying to help count it now, is under no circumstances will I support the introduction of the City Hall precinct into it. It's a place of government for all of us, and it needs to be a part of governance for us. So if that's raised, I will certainly speak in opposition. But thank you for your support and your direction, Councillor Farr.
Thank you, Councillor Powers. And I'm going to ask Councillor Clark to take the chair, please. Or Mayor Bettina, sorry, you're back. I'll ask you to take the chair. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I too want to thank first Councillor Farr. I know Councillor has put a lot of time and effort and energy at a very busy time, even through the limited vacation schedule that we've had over the last several weeks. And so I too want to commend the councillor for going that extra distance and try to make it work here today, and really offering an olive branch to everyone in terms of revising the motion to ensure that we almost have unanimous support here today. So special thanks to Councillor Farr for doing that. For me, I was supportive of the motion that was put several weeks ago for a number of reasons. And first and foremost, you really don't need a degree from McMaster or anywhere else to understand that students in our community are a driving economic force. And we all work downtown. And we know quite well what the students from Columbia College do for the merchants in this area in terms of the restaurants, the shops, and they really keep the downtown buzzing at all times of the year. And in fact, there really isn't a day that if you walk into a restaurant or a shop in the core, you don't see a student from Columbia College carrying a bag around with them, having just made a purchase. And so there is certainly a direct contribution there. And I hope that we can see that kind of activity on a larger scale with this kind of development. Certainly, of course, we can point to Councillor Whitehead and Councillor McCaddy's area and look at the direct benefits that the students are having on Upper James, and of course Westdale is built around the McMaster campus. And so to have that presence, which as Councillor Whitehead appropriately recognized earlier, was talked about during Mayor Morrow's administrations, it's long been a goal of this council to have a greater McMaster presence in the core. We've certainly accomplished that in part with what we're doing across the street, but I think what is proposed here by the McMaster representatives is absolutely fabulous in terms of taking it that next step and looking for, again, a greater activity in the core from an economic development standpoint. Lastly, for me, we've long complained about the lack of federal and provincial investments in our community. And oftentimes we are picked over, and we seem to be the poor cousin of the province, and other municipalities like those in the GTA and elsewhere are first in line to receive provincial dollars. And this is a substantial investment. So for me, it's about leveraging the connections through McMaster University to receive some provincial dollars. And whatever we can do, whether it's this motion, the amendment that Councillor Clark is putting later, or other initiatives to roll out the red carpet, not just for McMaster, but for our provincial counterparts. If it means someone's writing a $100 million check to make an investment in this community, I'm in favor of it, especially when, as has been emphasized over and over again, we're not being asked, in this instance, to write a check as a partner. This land contribution is quite small in comparison to what we've contributed in the past. And so for those reasons and others, I'm going to be very supportive of Councillor Farr's motion. And I too want to thank staff, who I know through that same period, through the last weeks of the summer, have been working with the councillor on making or getting us to where we are today. Mr. Chairman, sorry, those are my comments, and I'll take the chair back. I do have Councillor Morrow next on my list. I have you, Councillor Pearson. I'm now going to go to Councillor Partridge.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. And I too will be supporting this, but I do have a question for Mr. Murray, our city manager, and it's with regards to the motion through you, Deputy Mayor. Item D. I clearly heard from Dr. Dean that the 3 properties, the parking lots that have been identified, that certainly one of them would be more than suitable and appropriate. I also heard that there would be no expectation of cash in any part of the donation, and there would be only the donation of land is what they're looking for. So in item B of the motion, it covers that off quite nicely. It's been changed from the previous B. But in item D, I need a more fulsome explanation of what and any associated potential land negotiations. What does that mean?
Chris.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, I think in some part, page 6 of 6 in the report that is outlined in item 8.1. I mean, we speak to the 3 sites as the possible sites for locating the campus. If through the course of our conversations that there's maybe another site that we own and control, obviously that makes more sense. One doesn't come to mind right now, but it doesn't preclude us from looking at that, or if something else materializes in the coming days and weeks that makes sense to the city and makes sense to the university, then so our hands aren't tied, the bottom line. So that I'm clear on your question here, I mean, the conversation with Mac all along has been we're not interested in writing checks. We're potentially able to convey property and property we own, and that's the limit of what this is about. Some of the other matters in this motion that refer to the parking, I mean, that's been added just so as we don't ignore the fact that we have some parking challenges that we need to be on top of. But hopefully I'm answering your question, Councillor, but the focus of what we're going to sit down and talk about is on a property exchange, and subject to Councillor Clark's amendment to this motion, we'll expand that conversation with them to talk about taxable development that may be possible with the site, whatever site we end up choosing, or however else we can address taxable development in the downtown. So hopefully that answers your question.
Well, somewhat. But again, I guess what I'm getting at, just to provide some clarity myself through you, Deputy Mayor, is, if that opens up, the way that wording is, opens up a third-party piece of land negotiation that we are required to purchase. And I mentioned this to Dr. Dean. We talked about it on the phone. That's what I want to make sure, if that's what is the intent of it, or if it allows for that I just want to make sure that everybody publicly hears that. So if there's a piece of land identified that is preferred, that's owned by, let's say, the school board, or is owned by, another entity, would we be expected as the city to look into purchasing that land to then donate to McMaster?
It's you, Deputy Mayor. That has never been in the conversation that I've had with any representative of McMaster University. We are not in the business on this deal of writing checks to anyone to purchase any land from them.
Okay.
If someone wants to give us a bunch of land that we never heard of, never knew about, and because I think it's such a great idea, we're wonderful. But
we'd be on side for that.
Yeah, I think so. If someone wants to write deeds over to us, we're all over that. But I think in the conversation we've had with MAC, and I'd be shocked if MAC didn't nod their heads on this, we're not talking about writing checks to them or to anyone else.
All right, thank you. And I very much appreciate that clarity. If I may, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I want to thank Councillor Powers for raising the issue of the land behind City Hall, because I'm definitely not on side to that being any part of the negotiation with anyone. We own that land and we need to keep it. It's government owned. It's taxpayer owned. It's their land. I do support the amendment coming forward to allow for any kind of revenue generation on that property. I think that's important. I also believe strongly that that's part of our mandate as a council and as individual councillors, that first and foremost we look at how can we increase the tax revenue to support our taxpayers. Hopefully someday be able to bring that to a good balance. I do want to recognize Councillor Farr for all his work on this. It hasn't been necessarily an easy process, and I think we did hold you up a little bit on this in terms of accountability, and so I very much appreciate all your work and your effort that you've put into this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Morrow.
Mr. Chairman, I support this strongly. I was prepared to support it the last time. And just to give Council a bit of history, I wouldn't say it's more than 20 years ago, we couldn't get McMaster to come downtown. And one of my missions as mayor at the time was to get activity on their part and Mohawk's part. And lo and behold, they did build in the old courthouse, the facilities that are there. Then, of course, the wonderful complex across the street. And now this. And this is exactly what we want to see. They need space. Obviously, again, I don't want to dwell on history, but at that time they were looking at Burlington and Ancaster and everywhere other than downtown Hamilton. And I don't want to sound silly, but I would suggest to even look a little further east to the McMaster people, talking east of Wellington. There's lots of good opportunity there as well, but this is fantastic. I too compliment Jason on his work and McMaster on their desire to support the community. And I hope that there can be other projects like this in the future where we can collaborate and help and make things happen. The rewards are immense. It's not just tax dollars coming from a building, it's everything else, the ripple effect, which is huge. And I compliment our university on their initiative here and those who are supporting it on the council, and it looks like there's good support, so I think that's the way it should be, and I'm delighted to see it happen. Thank you.
Very well said. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. I have an amendment to move, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Pearson, that the city manager, on behalf of City Council, work with McMaster University to explore a public-private partnership, if feasible, to assist in the generation of property taxes. This does not bog down the process. This was written very carefully in consultation with the city manager. Dr. Dean clearly responded to me that he had no objections to this amendment being added, so I don't think there should be a great deal of discussion on it. It has it open to looking at public-private partnerships to generate property taxes, and that partnership if it's feasible. So we don't know until the city manager sits down with Dr. Dean and their people to actually explore it to see what's going on, and this simply allows for that. I hope there's support.
Okay, and I have questions on the amendment right now from Councillors Farr, Ferguson, and Whitehead.
It's a comment on the amendment, and it's brief. I have no issue. Okay. Well, we heard Dr. Dean on the record share that he has no issue, the applicant has no issue, and it has been carefully constructed and worded, and I appreciate the mover of the amendment's engagement over the last many weeks as well on this very significant issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you. I just want to ask Dr. Dean to accept the answer with a nod yes or a shake no. I want to make sure this will unconditionally not impair your application for the provincial funding. Okay. You don't think? Okay.
Okay. Councillor Whitehead.
I have the same concerns. I mean, the application has to be in by, I heard 26. Is that correct to staff? And my understanding, talking to McMaster, is that more specific the proposal is, greater opportunity to succeed. So is that a correct statement?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, you know, given where we are at right now in the process, we're as specific as we can be, and I think MAC realizes that and we realize that. So, I mean, if the concern here is that the motion as it's written in some way, shape, or form really takes us out of the race, I think Dr. Dean has said that's not the case. I think further to that, maybe this is one of these opportunities where, you know, if there was ever a chance to do a presentation and MAC would like one of us to be there at the presentation to the provincial government, then we'd be more than happy to show up and explain whatever needs to be explained. I would hope, in light of the other universities that are looking at what I would call greenfield development sites that I've heard about, that the province would see this kind of partnership, this kind of collaboration in a downtown that is coming back as something very positive. So all I'm going to say to you is that if there's anything that the McMaster needs us to do to kind of, you know, assist them in any government relations work that needs to go on to put us over the goal line, you know, I would expect that by this motion you're telling me to go work with them and make it happen. So I didn't hear this, our head of McMaster say in any way that this is going to affect their ability to be, or our ability to be successful.
Okay. Well, I mean, it was a pretty clear message was delivered to me that if the application isn't specific, it probably score lower in regards to the competition than others that will be more specific. So that's the challenge in putting this proposal in. I'm only concerned that if you leave things open-ended in this application, our application would be deemed as weaker than who we're competing with. So here's my question to staff. What is the vacancy rate of office space in our downtown? Hey, you put the amendment forward.
Please, Councillor.
I didn't ask for the amendment.
I need no outbursts at this point in time. We're going to be here a long time if everyone just wants to jump in as a free-for-all. So let's hold it. Stick to your questions, Councillor. You're my last speaker on the amendment. I'm going to put the amendment, and then I'm going to go back to my regular speakers list. Go ahead, Councillor.
Through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I'll answer that question. I believe right now it's 11.8.
11.8% vacancy office space in downtown.
Yes.
Is that correct? Do we have any studies that indicate a need in our downtown relative to commercial opportunities that need to be built?
You, Mr. Deputy Mayor, not to my knowledge.
Okay. So I understand the prudence. I understand the politics of it. I understand the business perspective. My concern is timing. If we had more time window, then this would be much more feasible. My concern is the time is very tight, and I just don't want to cloud the proposal, but we're not etching anything in stone other than a feasibility. So I just wanted to raise those concerns.
Thanks. I have the amendment that's been duly moved and seconded. All those in favor of the amendment? Any opposed? Hearing none, it's unanimous. Thank you. Now I'm going back to my regular speakers list. I have Councillors Whitehead and Marula.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly I think Councillor Morrow had stated very well that for many years we were trying to secure more activity with McMaster University in our downtown. That bubble's burst, and they've taken much greater interest in partnerships and investing in our downtown. McMaster is an internationally renowned university, highly ranked, very reputable. They're competing. They're competing with many other universities across Ontario and beyond. This competition for this investment is a competition. So it behooves us to do everything we can to facilitate their continued status and their position within the university world, to ensure that they have the facilities that will accommodate their growth and meet the needs of the students of Ontario and certainly the needs of Hamilton. So and the other thing we heard very clearly is this is inflation resilient, meaning that if things go down, turn in the economy, having a facility like this in downtown will still maintain students coming in, still maintain student expenditures, would only facilitate and help many of our businesses downtown. So for those reasons, thank you very much, Councillor Farr. Thank you, McMaster University.
Okay, I have Councillor Marula and McCaddy. Councillor Marula.
Just quickly, Mr. Deputy Mayor, let me focus in on the fact that the rise of downtown campuses is alive and well throughout North America. We're actually a little bit slow off the mark. And we should be putting together a more strategic long-term plan, not only with McMaster, but also with Mohawk College, Redeemer University, Brock University, who has a presence in Hamilton. And as well, we must acknowledge that the Arch program in Ward 4 on Main and Kenilworth at the Perkins Center, which was a joint city, provincial, and federal government, has a McMaster University presence there with our grad students, or their grad students. And as a direct result, we should acknowledge them, thank them for their efforts, because New Hope and the Perkins Center is doing some mighty fine work in our community. Thank you very much, Mr. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor McCaddy.
Thanks, Mr. Deputy Mayor. And this is a project that I think former Mayor Morrow talked about, that's been talked about for many years, to encourage McMaster to come downtown. And in my role as the Ward 1 City Councillor the last 11 years, we have a phrase where we talk to in the Westdale area, and McMaster talks about the idea of the Westdale bubble, where many of the students don't get outside of Westdale. They just come into Westdale Village. Some of them don't even make it that far, just hang out on campus and don't really get a full experience of Hamilton while they're here in our great city. One of the consequences of that is that they don't, not as many students as we'd like, stay in the community after their 4 years or 5 years or perhaps longer in the case of grad programs after they graduate from McMaster University. So that's something that we've always been a bit concerned about, the economic benefits associated with students staying behind, the creative ideas, the entrepreneurial ideas they have if they stay in Hamilton, the knowledge that they've picked up over their time at McMaster has left the community in many cases in the past. So certainly breaking outside that bubble with the downtown campus is something we've always envisioned, always talked about. And I'll put him on the spot, maybe embarrass him a little bit, but it's really only been since Patrick Dean has been here as the president of McMaster University that has really gelled. And we've seen it across the way here with the Family Medicine Building. We've seen it with staying downtown with the continuing education at a great location, Bay or James and King, which is really in the middle of our city. And very early on, one of Patrick's first activities was to send a notice out to all staff, all students, and really he went around speaking about his vision throughout the community, and it was called Forward with Integrity. And it spoke about a university that was had over time, and many universities were fairly inward-looking and fairly, inwardly scoped, I guess. And his vision, Patrick's vision, was to turn the university around. So it wasn't looking inside, it was looking outside. It was looking at his community, that all the research they did needed to have a purpose, needed to connect with the neighborhoods that it supports. And we now know McMaster is involved very much in the community planning teams that we have throughout the city, and involved in so many other activities here. So in the interest of perhaps embarrassing him just a little bit, Patrick has made a huge difference just in the very, very short time that he's been here. Of course, building on the work of previous presidents. I should be careful. Certainly, Peter George, as Councillor Morrow has just mentioned, helped us with the continuing education program down the street here. So I think we're entering a very different time frame for Hamilton, led by McMaster and focusing on our downtown. The bubble is hopefully at least a large dent in it at this point, if not entirely burst. And I would hope that we get more MAC students staying in Hamilton, helping our city in the years and decades ahead. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you for that. Councillor Pasuta.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Collins. And I quietly sat and listened to the presentations. I'd like to say thank you to MAC for coming up making the presentation. I can remember Councillor Fires, when he had the motion a couple of weeks back, brought it forward and kind of got set aside, shot down. But I'd like to share the conversation we had after that meeting, but I won't do that because some of the language wasn't appropriate, and we had a good discussion. But Councillor, I'll leave it for another day.
The same one that I had with him.
Councillor Farr is really dedicated to the downtown. He's been very good for the downtown, working with MAC, working with all kinds of businesses, and he has a passion for the downtown here. I think he's doing a terrific job. I'm looking at this. Of my 7 kids, I've had my oldest one graduate and had the opportunity, in fact, to get into MAC and into the physics program. Graduated from MAC many, many years ago and is an employee there at MAC at the reactor, and he's very excited about his job there and going forward. So my other kids made different universities and colleges, but all doing very well. Education is important. It's important in the future for the kids and the students. The more education we can get through the processes, MAC being here, opportunity for other businesses to come because this is the place of education. And if they come here, we can get more jobs, more tax revenue, more housing. It just rolls on and on. One of the things that, same as Councillor Jackson and Councillor Powers mentioned, the parking lot at the back, I believe, needs to stay as our place of governance. People come to park. They do look for places to park. We need to keep that, and that's one of the things. That's one of the reasons why I originally voted to renovate City Hall, was part of the parking lot here at the back, and for our opportunity for our residents to come and visit City Hall and do business here. This is a golden opportunity we cannot miss. I'm very supportive of this, and I will vote in favor of moving forward with this. So thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, and thank you to MAC for coming up today.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ferguson.
Yeah, just very quickly. First of all, I'm pleased to second this motion. I know I asked a lot of hard questions when it came to us last time, put Jason on the hot seat, and but I've had all those questions answered. I think the key thing is that there's no cash outlay from the city. It's a property outlay, so we're not writing a check. We're not dipping into our reserve funds to do this. And of course, I want to be a big supporter of MAC, particularly, after I got home that night and the next day the spec came out, Matthew wrote a story on it. My wife tuned me up big time because she's a MAC graduate. What are you doing not supporting MAC? And I thought about that, and probably a lot of my constituents are MAC grads too. And so it's the absolute right thing to do with no cash impact on our taxpayers. It's parking lots that can be replaced with underground structures. So I'm pleased to second it, and congratulations, Jason. I look forward to this decision being unanimous.
On the list, sorry, Councillor Pearson, did I miss you? My apologies.
I'm going to be very brief, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Thank you very, very much. And certainly to McMaster, first and foremost. Secondly to Jason. Jason, it has been stated, and it's true, he's very passionate about the downtown. I'm so glad that things have have come the way they have today, because it was very apprehensive dealing with this at the last meeting, and it's always imperative, and it's good news going forward in how things are presented and the information that we get ahead of time that prepares us an understanding. I thank Dr. Dean and Ms. Dr. Cordray for giving the messages that I got with regards to information I know I didn't get back, but I listened to all the messages and I appreciate that. I think first and foremost, Mr. Deputy Mayor, the one thing we said, and I know back in 2003 when I was first elected, the issue that we have to deal with in the downtown has been get people down here. And this is one of the momentums that does that. Then this is a great movement forward for Hamilton. So I'm not going to carry this much further. The only concern I am going to mention is, I know it's been stated, and I will like to be on the record, that I'm supportive of locations. The only one I'm not supportive of is the back of City Hall. So just that staff can take that back, that maybe that not be one that becomes the one we mull over and spend a lot of time on. I don't want to go down the same road as the stadium. So let's deal with what can work for all of us that we'll all be pleased with. Thank you.
Moved and seconded as amended now. All in favor, please rise. All right, let the record show that it is unanimous with one out of the chamber. With Councillor Duval's absence, yes. Okay, thank you.